Hi everyone, Beth Sager with Lex Local, and now we are talking to candidates for planning board. Tom Shiple is running, you say, for the first time.
Yeah, for a townwide seat.
Yeah, okay. And tell me about it. Why would you want to do that to yourself?
Well, I've been a town meeting member since 2018.
Okay.
And found myself being drawn towards zoning issues that came before us in town meeting, and just kind of digging into them, and eventually formed a small group of 3 of us town meeting members that had similar interests, and started digging into zoning issues and trying to break them down into bite-sized chunks, because they can be complicated, and a lot of town meeting members were telling us I didn't really understand this very well. So we would study the zoning proposal, and we wrote explainers that we were posting to other town meeting members to help them understand what the issues were, and that was very well received. And so that kind of, and then we started attending more planning board meetings and things like that, and I kept getting drawn to the issues and forming my own opinions about things, and when the seat opened, decided to jump in and run.
Okay. So what is your perspective on, the town and zoning? I mean, I know the MBTA is just a whole issue unto itself.
Right.
So what's your thoughts on that?
On that in particular?
Sure, let's talk about that for a
Yeah. So I was, interestingly enough, in 2023, this same 3-member group of town meeting members I just mentioned, we kind of felt like the zoning, the planning board's proposal was a little bit too aggressive, and so we came up with an amendment that we actually filed with the town meeting that we were planning to present, which was going to phase in development over 5 years.
Okay.
And eventually we were approached by some other town meeting members who were having some similar thoughts, and we came up with what we called a compromise amendment. There were 13 of us that worked together, and we eventually withdrew our amendment and supported this compromise amendment.
Okay. Which
was for 134 acres. The whole idea was to kind of start slow. And so we went forward with that. My campaign manager, Barbara Katzenberg, actually presented this amendment on the floor of town meeting. I spoke in favor of it, but it lost by 5 votes.
Okay.
And what's interesting in looking back at that proposal, even though it was our intention to kind of start slow, the 134 acres that we made part of the proposal is where most of the development has taken place anyway. About 70% of the development that we're seeing today would have happened anyway with that proposal, because none of us could really foresee where the development opportunities were going to be. So anyway, once that amendment failed, I went on and supported the entirety of Article 34, because I wanted to see some housing being developed. I think it's really important that we see a diversity of housing types here in town, people at different stages in their lives, more moderately priced price points, even though 85% of it is market rate and it won't be cheap. We are getting 15% inclusionary housing, and those will be more affordable, and that totals 160 units. So overall, I think what we have in the pipeline is great progress, is fantastic progress, and I think the town will be able to absorb that. But I do think we need to slow it down, kind of going back to my instincts that I had in 2023. So I am supporting the concept of Article 2 at special town meeting. There's some kinks that are still being worked out, but I generally support Article 2 to slow things down. And this is the big but. I don't think it's the last word on MBTA zoning. I think the planning board needs to go back and kind of take a thorough look at every aspect of it to customize it more, now that we understand better what kind of developments are coming from the development community, to fine-tune some things, and basically to do it in such a way that we get fewer projects and smaller projects, but we still get some projects going forward.
So I was noticing 59% of them are 1-bedroom units.
Correct.
Who's going to live there?
So it's a question that's coming up, and I'm trying to get in touch with one of the developers that's doing one of the large apartment complexes. That's right at about 59%. That are some that are pushing 70% 1-bedrooms. To understand what market are they tapping into. My general feeling is that they're the experts, and they know where the market is, and they're putting in a lot of money into these projects, and they're betting on the fact that this is what the market wants and needs. So I'm willing to live with that. The one aspect is that those one-bedroom apartments are going to generate very few school children and pretty low demand on municipal services, I think. So I think that even makes them easier to absorb. But it is true that we're not getting as many 2- and 3-bedroom units that would serve other segments of the population.
I don't see it. I mean, honestly, as a realtor, I don't know who these people are. They're going to live in a 1-bedroom apartment. I mean, are they a young couple because they can't afford it? And I feel like the developers put in a lot of 1-bedrooms because that's better for them, especially if it's a rental, right? So, renting all of those 1-bedrooms is, more money in their pocket, frankly. Like, I really feel like that aspect should be looked at a little bit.
Well, we do. I mean, as I'm sure you know, we have a regional housing crisis. We're well short of housing units of all types. And so if that fills a need, then I think it makes sense. It could be one of the things that you mentioned is that the rental prices per square foot are just getting so expensive that people that before with those types of jobs maybe could afford a 2-bedroom and have a little bit extra space maybe for home office or whatnot are now being squeezed into a 1-bedroom. And so maybe that's part of it. That's what's behind this is just the higher cost of housing. People just can't. Rise of the single family homes that are being built. And this I'm looking at this more from a technical correction point of view. Town meeting passed new limits for the gross floor area 2 years ago. But apparently what I've heard that the way developers are responding to those new limits is that they're basically changing the ceiling height in the basements to a low enough level that square footage actually doesn't count towards their total, and they're using the savings there to put into the first and second floors, so that the massing that people experience in looking at a house is the same basically as what it was before. So it really, the intent of the new bylaw was not realized. So if what we're really worried is about how the massing of the building is experienced by other people around, I don't think how the ceiling height of the basement really matters. And so why are we even getting involved in basements? Another thing that is counted towards the gross floor area are covered porches. And again, developers, I think, feel like they can make more money by using that square footage in the interior of the house rather than building a porch. And so you see these large houses being built with just like this really simple little covered area right in front of the front door, but that's it. And I think a nice porch can really soften the massing of a building and create more community with the street and people walking by and things like that. So I think removing the porch from the GFA limit would also be a good idea.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
One other thing I would mention is that I'd like to take another look at the Transportation Mitigation Fund. It seems that we've kind of gotten away from asking developers to do mitigation payments into a fund that, for example, supports Lex Express or might support signalization improvements and that kind of thing. And part of that with the MBTA zoning was that the state wouldn't allow us to impose those types of impact fees. But if we rework the zoning so that we're only keeping a small percent of the multifamily housing just to remain compliant with the state, whatever else we choose to do beyond that, we can impose our own rules and regulations. And so we could start asking developers to make contributions into like a transportation mitigation fund.
That would be good. So what do you do like when you're not volunteering?
So I'm retired now.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I was a software engineer in the computer industry for a long time. I was heavily involved in the youth soccer community here at Lexington United Soccer Club.
That's why your name is familiar. Okay, yeah.
I started off as an assistant coach on my son's team, and within 5 years or so, found myself as president of the club, and I was president for 3.5 years. And during that time, I realized that we didn't have enough field space really to run our program. It's 1,500 kids that club serves. So we had this idea to install lights on one of the soccer fields up at Lincoln Park, and we created a new nonprofit. I was president of that as well, to do a totally private project to bring lights to the second field up at Lincoln Park. It was called Light Up Lincoln. We had lawn signs over the place. So we raised like $300,000 in the community.
It's crazy.
We hired, engineering firm, construction firm, all the permitting, going in front of the select board, recreation committee, getting all that done. It turned out to be a 5-year project. We turned the lights on in 2017. But anyway, so that led me into town government, and I became a town meeting member. That I'm going on 7 years now. I'm also a member of the bicycle advisory committee. My bicycle is my primary mode of transportation around town when we're not having weather like today. And I'm now a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals as well.
All right.
So I stay involved in town government a lot, but then I'm also looking for opportunities outside of Lexington to kind of escape the bubble a little bit. And I've been participating in a high school mentoring program in Boston for 4 years that mentors high school students from under-resourced schools who want to go to college, and helping them from their sophomore through their senior years to basically go through that entire process of preparing for the standardized tests and figuring out how to apply to college, all while taking the right courses in school and whatnot. And I translated that effort, which I'm still doing, to helping a student in Burlington who's from a refugee family, who is now a senior in high school, that I befriended through the soccer community. And he's been accepted to 10 colleges. He's on his way.
That's
I was
awesome.
helping him last year. I was tutoring him for the ACT, and then this past fall, figuring out basically the college application process and the FAFSA form and all this kind of stuff. Just kind of like total wraparound services to help launch him.
Wow. You're a good guy.
I like to stay busy and see
do
where
good
I
things.
can help out. Yeah, exactly.
Well, thanks. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Good. Well, thank you for your time.
Yeah, sure. Do you want to ask for people's vote?
Yeah, if you like my message, please vote for me on August 3rd.
March 3rd.
March 3rd. Thank you.